everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Katie, and today I'm going to give you some book recommendations for the Journey Through the Bible Readathon. So if you're new to my channel or if you missed it, I will link the announcement video down below in the description box. But we're going to have a full month October Readathon with my lovely co-host Maddie at This Bookish Cottage. Her and I are just going to have so much fun, and next month we're going to have some reading sprints. We're going to have a live Q&A happening with Misu Andrews at the end of the month with her book Brave, which is our buddy read, which you do not have to do the readathon if you want to participate in the buddy read, or vice versa. So this video is going to be the book recommendations for the readathon for all the prompts, and then my next video will be my TBR, so I'll be posting that next week. So I was going to do both in one video, but I was like, no, I'd rather keep them separate just so I can keep track of which books I kind of planned on doing. So no TBR game next month for October, because I do like to kind of take it easy for the readathon, get a little break. So yeah, it's going to be more mood reading or books that I have to read by the end of the year. Okay, so I have my cute little graphic. I will put the graphic up here so you can either take a screenshot, or of course I'll put the graphic down below as well. All right, so Journey Through the Bible, we are doing a themed one that's kind of like on the veins of like Indiana Jones or The Mummy, kind of just like a fun treasure hunting type Journey Through the Bible. So I am, for myself personally, I'm going to give you Christian fiction book recommendations, and I'm also going to make my TBR all Christian fiction. So just so you know, and you can do as many where are you going prompts, as many what are you hunting for prompts, as many who are you going to meet prompts. So any of those you can do as many as you want, but you can only do one booby trap and one escape route. So it'll make my life a little bit easier. And I will put it in the description box, but I am so excited. I have made a file, which I will also put in the community tab too. But I have made a Google document where you can actually keep track of your reads for each of the prompts. And, well, actually, I probably should change that a little bit. Yeah, because I kind of want to know what you're reading too. So I gotta change the document a little bit, but I will link it down below so you can keep track of which prompts you have finished, so you can send it to me. Make sure to click submit when you're done, so that way I get it. And that way I can find out who escaped and who didn't, because it's gonna be so much fun. You actually have to match up which booby trap you have with which escape route. So you kind of have to figure out which one. And I'm the only one that knows. I'm not even gonna tell Maddie. So I'm the only one who knows which escape route goes with which booby trap. So it's going to be a fun time. So I'm going to give you some book recs, and I have to remind myself, I cannot tell you my picks for the booby trap and escape route, because that'll give you a hint of at least one of them. So I'm reminding myself in this video not to do that in my TBR. So yeah, that'll be a no-no. So you're not going to know what I'm going to pick for those. If you were thinking about that, I caught you. All right. So where are you going? We have Egypt, Jerusalem, Babylon, and Beersheba. So for Egypt, it is a book set in biblical times. I read a lot of biblical fiction, so there's quite a few I could recommend, but I'm going to recommend like my favorite. I can also recommend Brave, which is our buddy read. You can easily use that for that prompt. I was only going to recommend like 1 or 2 books per prompt, but I have 3 for this one. So the first one is Love Amid the Ashes by Misu Andrews. Yes, another Misu Andrews. This is a Job biblical fiction retelling, and this is my favorite. It is just so heartbreaking and so emotional. It's so good. Misu Andrews just puts so much detail and so much research into her books. I love it so much. And side note, Misu was actually the very first author I ever got in contact with, like actually just talked over email with. And so that's pretty cool that I still remember that she was the very first author I actually ever contacted. And so I actually did end up purchasing this book from her, like even before BookTube. So really exciting that was actually my first one by her, and it still remains to this day my favorite. Then I have 2 Rahab retellings, which is actually one of my favorite stories in the Bible. So we have The Crimson Cord by Jill Eileen Smith, which is my favorite of Jill Eileen Smith's books. And it's just a Rahab biblical story, and I really enjoyed that one. And the other Rahab one I have is Pearl in the Sand by Tessa Afshar, which I feel like this one, well, I feel like they both do. They both kind of talk about her life after Jericho as well. So they're both really good. And this one I tabbed quite a bit because we had this as a buddy read. Actually, yeah, we had this as a buddy read. This could have been actually back in, yeah, this could have been back in spring, maybe, or last year. But anyway, so all three of those are good. They're all set in biblical times. Now, if you don't want a biblical fiction character, like actual like biblical character, then Coddle and Cosette has a series. I will put it up here. I haven't finished the series yet, but it's basically like it's just a character that's set in biblical times, and she is kind of following like the plagues and the Jews and stuff around that time of Moses, but you're seeing it in the eyes of her, so it's like following her character. And then I also have two, like you could read the Mark of the Lion series by Francine Rivers. Those definitely do not have really like any biblical characters, but it's set during biblical times, roughly. So I would count that. And then there's another series called the Constantine Empire series by Brian Litfin. Wow, I remembered that. But his series is very reminiscent of the Mark of the Lion. So if you enjoyed Mark of the Lion and have already read it, try out the Constantine Empire series. You will really enjoy that one as well. So for Jerusalem, a wartime era book, that could be any war. It does not have to be World War II. But my favorite is The Warsaw Sisters by Amanda Barrett. My absolute favorite. I love this book so much. I've actually gotten both my mom and my dad to read this one. So that's a shocker that all three of us have actually read a book together, but well, not together, but we've all read it. So really enjoyed this one. This is about two women in Warsaw, Poland, and their father is killed during the war, and so they're kind of on their own, and they kind of had like a big fight or something, and they end up splitting up, and both end up working separately for the resistance. So this one's really good and highly recommend. If you want a different era for wartime, The Long March Home by Marcus Brotherton and Tosca Lee. This one's very, very good. This one is set during the where is it? In the Philippines. And it's during that Pearl Harbor time and during the Bataan Death March. So it is very emotional. There are some parts that get a little bit on the gruesome and gross side during like the prison war camps, so just be prepared for that. But it is a very, very good book. Really enjoyed it. I think my dad read this one, so it was very good. And if you don't want like one that's set like on the war front, check out the Blackout Book Club by Amy Lynn Green. This one's set on the home front, and it's about this girl who her brother, I think, is off to war or something, and he's like, can you take over my position at the library while I'm away? And she's like, I don't want to. She's not really a big reader. She's like, I don't want to be involved with the library and stuff, but she ends up doing it because her brother asked her to. So she ends up doing that, and they end up forming a book club through it, and it's such a great book. And if you don't want like all the war scenes and stuff like that, highly recommend this book. It's very, very good, and I really enjoyed this one. Next one is Babylon, Flowers on the Cover. Okay, this one, which is one of my absolute favorites, we're just going to put it in this category, Beyond Ivy Walls by Rachel Fordham. If you love Beauty and the Beast, Phantom of the Opera, and or Rigoletto, pick this one up. It is phenomenal. The romance in it, the tortured soul hero, all really fantastic. This is my favorite Rachel Fordham book. I absolutely love it. And I don't think, is it signed? Okay, good, it's signed. It's got a book plate. I was like, if this is not signed, we have to fix that. But there is ivy flowers on the cover, and I did say flowers, anything that's in a garden, even trees. There is a couple trees in here, so that would count too. But this is my favorite, so I'm going to highly recommend this book for that prompt. And then the last place you can visit is Beersheba, which is a female main character. I don't know. I mean, well, I think I'm going to do this one because it's right in front of me. And I did actually have this out for a fall book rec video, so I'm just going to do it. So what I did for this one was, for the male main character and the female main character, I don't want to have dual points of view. I want you to find a book that is strictly like that one point of view. So for that one, I'm going to pick State of Lies by Siri Mitchell. This is a very high intense action thriller type book. You're going to love it. It is a political thriller, but it's done very, very well. Really enjoyed it. And yeah, I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but it's so good. So in this one, we're following a woman whose husband passes away in a hit and run. And then a little while later she finds out that things aren't adding up and things aren't really what they seem. So it's so good. It's so good. I can't recommend it enough. Yeah, it's so good. So yeah, and I believe it is all one perspective. So, and even honestly, if there's like 1 or 2 chapters of the other point of view, that's totally fine. But I want you to find one that's like mainly the one point of view. All right, then the next one is, what are you hunting for? So these are all treasures that are found in the Bible. So we have Pharaoh's tomb, precious rubies, rod of Moses, temple of Jerusalem, Ark of the Covenant, Dead Sea Scrolls, and Solomon's treasure. So for Pharaoh's tomb, that's a male main character. So honestly, I really don't have a lot, but I think what I'm going to recommend is, I think all these are by the men's point of view, but since I know that men's point of view is kind of tough, if you can't find it, I'll let 2 points of view slide, but try to find one. Ted Dekker. Ted Dekker is a huge one that is, for the most part, mainly male points of view in his books. And one of my favorites is, like, I love Saint, I love Sinner, and 3. Those are all like really good. So those, if you like kind of like supernatural kind of thriller type books, those are really great. As well as, I believe, Brian Litvin's series, The Constantine Empire, is also mostly male point of view. So I think any of those would be really good choices. Then we have Precious Rubies, which is a beautiful cover. And that's subjective, so I'm not going to really recommend you anything because, I mean, it is subjective. If you think it's beautiful, it counts. Like, I would say Wistress by Nadine Brendes. That's one of the most beautiful covers I have. I would choose that one, you know, or, well, I mean, it wouldn't because I've already read it, but, you know, any book. So yeah, I'm going to have to think about which one I want to read, but anything could work for that. Next prompt is Rod of Moses, and that's listen and read. So I want you to pick a book. It can be anything, so I don't have any recommendations for you, but you must read the physical book or the ebook and the audiobook. So pick the audiobook and either physical or ebook, and you don't have to read them at once. Some of you do. That's fine. That's okay. But you can like listen to the audio in the car, and when you come home, pick up the physical or the ebook. So I want you to read two different formats. Next one is Temple of Jerusalem, building on the cover. And I'm going to count, like, you know, like I would say, you know, Beyond Ivy Walls by Rachel Fordham. That works. But I'm going to pick something different, of course. So I'm going to go ahead and do, is this a building? You know, I'm not exactly sure. I would say this is the inside of a building. So we can count it. But The Lost Library by Melissa Coastland. So if you look closely, there's stairs there, and there's bookshelves all along there. So it is like the inside of a building. So this is stretching it, but if you want to stretch it, go ahead. So that would be one that has a building on the cover that but any building, a house, an apartment building, a skyscraper, whatever, just as long as it's a building, a barn, I don't care. All right, the next prompt is Ark of the Covenant, a book of the Bible. Read whatever book of the Bible you want. I'm probably going to read, I don't know, maybe Ruth or Esther, because it's been a while since I've read those, although I kind of like, I think I've already read those last year, so I'm kind of keeping on track for reading like the whole Bible within like 2 years, so probably should pick another one. Next one is Dead Sea Scrolls, book published before 2000. I found one. I was like, do I have any to recommend? My favorite series. Honor's Pledge is book 1 in the Rocky Mountain Legacy series. I love it. I've reread this series 3 times. It is fantastic. It needs a reread soon, but it's so good. I mean, it needs a reread because I don't really remember a lot about it, but I just know that I love it, and it's published in 1998, so it counts, and I think I might reread this book. And then the last prompt for what are you hunting for is Solomon's Treasure, foiled cover. There's not enough foiled covers in the Christian fiction world, which is really sad because they're beautiful, and I would get all of them. But the only one that I have is, I already suggested it for another prompt, and that is the 30th edition, which you don't have to read the 30th edition. It just comes in that. So, but Pearl in the Sand by Tessa Afshar. So it's got beautiful foil on the cover. So that's the only one that I could think of right now. But anything that has like anniversary edition, sometimes they have foil covers. Next prompts are the who are you going to meet? So you can meet the librarian. And that prompt is a librarian recommended book. So I'm not a librarian. So find a librarian at your local library. If you have a friend online who's a librarian, if you're part of like the avid readers of Christian fiction group on Facebook, say, hey, I need a librarian to recommend a book to me. Do that. That works too. So I can't recommend you one. For the next one is you can meet the treasure hunter, which is an action-filled book, which I just recommended like a few of them and other ones. The Lost Library by Melissa Coastland. State of Lies by Siri Mitchell. Both of those are, I would say, very, very action-packed. But of course, I want to recommend a new book to you. I'm going to recommend this one. And I know it's a little early, but some of you are already reading Christmas books. So pick up this one up if you haven't. This is Better Watch Out by Natalie Walters. And I don't normally go out of my way to like buy or find books. I actually won this book from Becca Kinzer, so yay for that. But even if I didn't, I would have bought a copy because this is action-filled, set in New York City. It immerses you right into New York City and right into the holiday atmosphere, and it's also very action-packed. So really great book. Next one is You Can Meet Tomb Raiders, which is murder/cozy mystery. And let's see. There's tons of murder mysteries. I kind of want to like recommend a cozy mystery to you. So I'm going to recommend I think they're called Gone to the Dog cozy mysteries. I've read book 1 and 2 so far, and they're just really cute. They're fun. There's light romance throughout, but all of them are kind of set around a dog kennel in this, I think it's Texas, don't quote me. Or it could be, no, I think it is Texas. But it's a sweet, cozy mystery series. Really enjoyed it. I was trying to think of a Christian fiction series, and that one is. So very, very good. I don't honestly think there's really that much faith in it, but it's super cute and super fun. So I'm going to recommend that series. I should continue it, actually. And then the next one you can meet is The Mummy, and that is to wipe the dust off the oldest book on your TBR. So that's another suggestive one. Whatever book's been on your TBR for, I would say, honestly, more than 2 years. And if you don't, I would say 1 or more year, because sometimes some of us, get rid of a lot of books. Trust me, I have a lot of books that have been on my TBR for over 2 years. So that is a great way to kind of dust off a book and read it. Then we have the booby trap. So the first one is Spears from the Wall, which is a blind pick. So you can either spin a wheel if you want to get like a wheel app and put in a bunch of books. You can blind pick that way. You can just make a stack of books and kind of mix them around and pick that way. You can wrap your books in wrapping paper and pick blindly that way. There's lots of different ways you can do it. You can just point to a book and say, I'm reading that one, or whatever. So whatever you want to do, just as long as you don't actually know what you're picking at the time. Then the next one is for booby traps, snakes. Read the longest book on your TBR. That's also subjective because sometimes a long book for us could be 400 pages or more. That would be for me because I don't really read long books. My average is like roughly between, I would say like 275 and 380 is usually my average. So anything over 400 to me would be big. But if you read like average books that are like 450, 500 pages, then 600 or more would be. So I don't really have a book rec for you, but honestly, like Francine Rivers, again, Mark of the Lion series, that Brian Litfin series, the Constantine Empires, those are all pretty big, like over 450 pages each, I think. So any of those could work. So any of those. But again, as I said, that's subjective. So yeah. And then the next one is Filling with Sand, a book you can finish in a day. So I would say, honestly, let's see. What about this one? Oh, I know. Which I actually did recommend in my fall TBR. I don't know which video is coming out yet first. But the Maple Run series by Tony Shiloh. This is Buying Love, the first book. And it's literally like 150 pages, 165 pages. So you can easily finish this within a day, Yeah, that's pretty doable. All right, the next booby trap, which is the last one. Yes, last one. Walls Closing In. Coin Flip Your Next Read. And so for this one, you're going to pick a book that like you're really, really, really excited about. And then maybe one that you're, like you have to read, or maybe you're not as excited. Then you flip a coin or you use the coin flip app. And then you pick tails for that book, heads for that book. No cheating. All right. Then we have How Do You Escape? The first one is Bullwhip, which is snag a popular new release. So this is anything between August of 2024 and December of 2024. So you can get one that's been, published within the last like 2 months, or if you have NetGalley, or get a pre-release of something, you can read something that's coming out soon, which I don't know what I'm going to do yet. We'll see. And then the next one is Spearhead. I can't really recommend any new releases because I haven't read any, I don't think, lately. Spearhead, random number generator. So pick a stack of your TBR, go from 1 through 10 or whatever. You can use Google to do a random number generator. You can write them all on a piece of paper, 1 through whatever, and put them in a bowl. You can pick that way, whichever is easier for you. I try to make it as easy as I can. And the next one is Torch, a book you read by light. And that is, read outside in the sun. use a book light, I would say a phone or a Kindle light would be okay too. So any one of those would work. And then the last one is a book as, you know, an escape route. Ask a friend to pick your book. So if you want me to recommend a book, I'm your book friend. That's totally fine. If you want, you know, your family to pick a book, that's fine too. A pet friend, that works too. Anything. I mean, a book group on Facebook. Those are your friends. Let them pick a book. All right, so those are all the prompts. Some book recommendations along the way. And I hope you all have an amazing time with this TBR and, well, your TBR and this readathon. Let me know what you're excited about reading next month and if you're joining in. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all in the next video.